I would like to call the meeting in order. We can begin with roll call. Ms. Rodriguez, please call the roll.
Sorry. Good afternoon, board members and members of the public. Starting with President Millibar,
Aye.
Director Estremera,
Aye.
Director Martin,
Aye.
Director Luna,
We're doing a vote or presence?
presence.
Present.
Director Chang,
Here.
Director Anaptawi,
Here.
and Director Weed. Excellent. We have a quorum of the board and I do not see that we have alternate directors online or in the room. Oh, my apologies. We have alternate Director Lamoureux on the line. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move into closed session and we should be back by 2 o'clock. Are there any comments at this time?
President Millibar, we have not received public comment requests for this item.
Okay, we'll move into closed session. Thank you. Okay, we'll reconvene from closed session. Josh, any report from closed session?
No reportable action, President Millibar.
Okay, we'll open the meeting October 16th of the DCA with the Pledge of Allegiance. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation,
under God,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
President Millibar, before we continue with the agenda, I'd like to acknowledge that we have in the room alternate Director McMillan. Online, we have alternate Director Palmer, alternate Director Fast, and alternate Director Ballard.
Okay, we'll move on to item 5, right? We are now public comment on items not on the agenda. If you wish to make a public comment, we request that you submit a request through QR code noted on the agenda. In addition, attendees may provide public comment during the meeting by submitting a comment card or using the raise hand function of the Zoom platform. Those participating by phone can press *9 to raise their hand. Do we have any public comment at this time?
President Millibar, we did not receive public comment for this item nor in the room, online or in the room.
Okay. Very good. We'll move on to item 6A, which is approval of the minutes of the August 21, 2025 meeting. Any public comment on this?
President Millibar, no public comment request for this item.
Okay, we need a motion
Motion for approval, Mr. Chairman.
and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Do you have to
We
do a
apologize.
roll call?
You do have to do it. Starting with President Millibar,
Aye.
Director Martin, Director Luna,
Aye.
Director Estremera,
Aye.
Director Chang,
Aye.
Director Anaptawi,
Yes.
and Director Weed.
Aye.
Right?
Okay, approved. Moving on to item 7A, discussion. Our next item is October monthly report. Graham.
Thank you, President Millibar. So I'll wait for Claudia to get the monthly report up. We'll start and focus on the executive summary, which is that first page of the report. Our main work items associated with the effort, we continue to support DWR's ongoing permit efforts, including the change in point of diversion hearings at the State Water Resources Control Board. We continue our engineering studies to advance the project design and consider potential refinements, All of this leading towards an updated cost estimate and supporting basis of design report planned for early 2027. Simultaneously, we continue our development of internal management plans, procedures, workflows for transitioning to the delivery phase in the project after water agency approvals, so that we can transition efficiently into that delivery phase of the program. In terms of our financial summary, we have for the current fiscal year an approved budget of 65 million that was approved last June by this board. In total, we've committed through contracts and task orders about 55.8 million, 7.5 million incurred through approved invoices to date. We are forecasting for the fiscal year an estimate at completion of 59.5 million, which would represent a 9% underrun. We have not committed through contracts and task orders any of the budget associated with geotechnical work, which is currently limited through the current injunction on the program. So that would, if allowed, likely consume the underrun that I'm referencing here in terms of the current EAC. I want to acknowledge the change in the plot that's included on the executive summary. We continue to tinker. And so I think as we keep working with our systems and evaluating the best way to communicate our progress and plans on the project, at this point, we're including a plot that shows a distribution of the estimate at completion, but in the form of a monthly spend, as well as a cumulative line cutting across the top. So if you see that line complete on the top right, it's at 59.5. So that's our best guess at an estimate of where we're going to land if nothing else changed for the fiscal year. So this is based on everything we know about current approved work, new amendments, and other processes that we intend to take on, but it does not account for the geotech work that could come online in the spring pending consideration at the appeals court. As we've discussed in the past, we are using a more real-time estimate of incurred costs. It's a combination of monthly invoiced incurred, so those are actuals. Those are shown in the dark green on the plot. So as those invoices are submitted and approved, they transition from estimated to actual incurred costs. And then our new system this year has been to roll out an estimating process with each of our vendors to collect their best estimate of incurred costs. So we're actually able to reflect information as recent as the prior year. So the first 3 months of the fiscal year through September are represented with the green bars on the plot. Beginning in October and beyond, those are estimates for the completion of the fiscal year. This reflects our movement in a direction to more tightly manage and understand the work ahead as the engineering work is taking a larger and larger focus, and we're continuing to support DWR with permit efforts, but the bulk of our work is tending to focus on these engineering and also our own internal planning efforts. We're able to map out a more predictable schedule and really start to manage ourselves according to that schedule. So you'll see that reflected in the information as we can continue to evolve it. And in terms of our work progress to date, there is backup information at the very back of the summary report. But our current estimate for percent complete, this is an estimate of physical percent complete that combines our deliverable progress amongst all of our contracts and vendors, as well as what we call level of effort. Those are basically the embedded staff that we have working on the program. We estimate a percent complete of 23%. So using a rough just quarter, we're 1 quarter essentially into the fiscal year. You could imagine if nothing else, we should be around 25% complete. But if you look at the top plot, you can see that actually we're a little bit backloaded in the fiscal year. So a 23% level of completion pretty well matches with what we would expect to be according to plan. In terms of our percent spend, we're sitting at about 20% estimated spend right now. So we're underrunning a relatively small bit at this moment, but the work itself is on track. So I think we're in a pretty good position as we sit here financially. In terms of our small business and DVBE participation, I think we're lagging a bit compared to last year. We currently have about 9% of our committed contracts dedicated to small business or disadvantaged businesses. Invoice to date represents about 5%. I think we're still evaluating options to obtain more engagement from that piece of the sector. FY 24-25 closeout is just about wrapped up. We have confirmed our completed amount for last fiscal year at 31.5 million. We have no outstanding invoices. That represents a total underrun for last fiscal year of about 26%. So we have our existing, our procurement summary. There's not a lot happening on the procurement front right now. We had a pretty big push last year and through the summer with the executive support services contracts. So the items that Adrian is working on now are more of the service type contracts and a little bit smaller scale while we make our plans for the coming fiscal year. In terms of outreach, and you're going to hear more about this from Jessica today when she provides her communications update. But we have rolled out new guidelines and templates for updating and refreshing our brand and look and feel of our information. Jessica will be showing you the new communications dashboard that we've included. It is in the monthly report, but I'll leave that to Jessica to highlight for you all. We have kicked off an assessment with each of the participating public water agencies, communications assessment. We've been updating the website, library, and other materials associated with the Delta Conveyance project. And then also did participate last month at the Orange County Water Summit. So we are still getting out and about discussing the project and being available to those who are interested. So with that, President Millibar, that's the end of my summary, but happy to discuss any details. There's a lot in the monthly report. Would be happy to go into any details if desired.
On the chart, at the bottom of September 0.2, are there more invoices to come to fill some of that gap?
Yes, what you're seeing there, this has been a typical pattern that we've seen. So what you see in September, those are things like the rent and other costs that go out at the very beginning of the month. All of our vendors, our A&E contractors and others who submit a monthly invoice, it usually takes some time. So for September, they'll be submitting their invoices, relatively deep into October. Those invoices have to go through a review process to be validated and confirmed before they are fully submitted for payment. We don't consider them actual incurred costs until payment is approved for those invoices. So until we're clear about what that invoice represents and the amount of that invoice, it stays as a forecasted cost until that point. So that's what you're seeing with September. All of the Hatchard pattern that you see in that bar is all estimated costs, and but it's a really good indicator of what we expect to eventually turn into actual incurred costs.
So it's like a month and a half before that bar fills.
That's correct. And you can see even for August, we still have an amount at the top of that green bar that's Hatchard, meaning we're still holding a certain amount of estimated costs because the invoices have not been fully accepted and as incurred costs. Hence the challenges we've had in the past, through some of our old methodologies, using actual incurred costs as the basis for understanding our financial performance had quite a bit of lag to it. So with more recent evolutions, I think we're getting a much better handle on incurred costs in a time frame that we can do something about it.
Are there any other questions from the board on this report? At this time? Any public comment?
President Millibar, no public comment request for this item.
All right, we'll move on to 7B, an update on the DCP roadmap. Graham.
Great. Thank you, President Millibar. This is our high-level schedule. We just call it this roadmap. It covers the work scope through 2027. This is an important time frame for the projects. You'll notice down in the lower right-hand corner, there's the red star with the annotation PWA approval to proceed. And so this roadmap that has been developed is centered around the approval time frame amongst all of your agencies to make decisions about moving forward with the project. So working backward from that point, we have a number of key milestones targeted for early 2027, late 26, early 27. The first being the completion of major permits, and Carrie is here to update you all on the status of permit progressions. The next item down is related to a number of engineering topics that ultimately culminate in an updated Class 3 cost estimate. So that I'm going to provide a bit more detail on today. Then lastly, the program delivery planning activities. There's a number of parallel activities that are moving forward, but do want to point that there is going to be a need to amend the JEPA, the Joint Exercise of Powers Agreement, at some point prior to implementation to reintroduce that language. But that's not the point of today's roadmap update. I'm really going to focus on the area within the blue coloring up there that's surrounded by the circle. Next slide, Claudia. So there are a series of activities associated with getting to that cost estimate. The first is to prepare a system-wide basis of design report. This is a major engineering effort for the DCA and something that I do think is worth checking in on. It's about an 18-month 18-month item to complete. And so rather than waiting till that item is fully completed to come back to the board, wanted to provide a status update as we work our way through it. So the purpose of the BODR is to advance the design, move it forward. We're going to be advancing the design from a current level of about 10% maturity to something akin to 25%. So a pretty significant advance in terms of the overall definition of the project. That allows us, when moving into the cost estimate, to reduce the cost uncertainty associated with that estimate, better manage risks associated with the design and construction of the project, and highlight schedule opportunities as we continue to refine the overall program schedule. Some key considerations that are being built into included in the BODR as well as the supporting schedule. Newly collected subsurface information. So although the current geotechnical work is enjoined, we were able to collect quite a bit of information over the past few years, as well as bring in a lot of high quality existing subsurface information, bring that into the overall database for the project area, which allows us to reconsider conservatisms within the design and consider potential refinements that reflect that more recent subsurface information. Additionally, there have been a number of permits that have been obtained by the Department of Water Resources. Along with those permits come environmental commitments, requirements, notification periods, variety of different survey types and other types of mitigations and commitments. Also, a number of key commitments that came in based on comments to the EIR. So an example of that would be the East Bay Mud comments on the tunnel profile where it crosses the McCollumney Aqueduct tunnel that East Bay Mud plans to construct. So we have a number of revisions that we're considering that could affect the design of the project. And so we're advancing this overall system-wide design package to capture those key potential changes and support that updated Class 3 cost estimate. Another key attribute of the BODR is that it's being framed in such a way that it will allow for efficient transition to engineer of record teams, which are going to pick up the individual project features and advance those through final design. So this is a system-wide design package that can then be broken up as needed for the various project features to allow those designers to take the projects through completion. It does establish the scope and schedule baseline for the project. So in addition to preparing the necessary information to support the Class 3 estimate, it really ends up setting us up to flip the switch into delivery in a much more efficient way. We have a defined scope through this basis of design report. We have a defined schedule that's developed alongside that, which are key elements in terms of establishing an overall performance baseline. Next slide, please. So the basis of design report is not a small effort. As I mentioned, we're moving a very large project from a 10% level of design to something closer to a 25% level of design. This is not work that we're, I'd say, choosing to do. Our focus is to obtain that Class 3 cost estimate, which is the appropriate level of estimating for funding level decisions. In order to do that, we need to do the necessary engineering work to support that cost estimate. That engineering work is documented in this basis of design report. In total, it's 22 sections or chapters. Those are listed on the right-hand side. They're broken up generally by project feature, although we are including other important elements like system-wide design criteria and design standards. A little bit further down, you can see project phasing and packaging, as well as the overall implementation schedule, details identified necessary for the preliminary startup and commissioning of the project. So this provides the system-wide document, puts all the necessary information in one place, and will ultimately be a key resource for that Class 3 estimate and further steps after that into delivery. The basis of design drawings that accompany this development are likely to amass to maybe 1,200 drawings, which is a significant amount of design effort necessary. But this is going to get a lot larger as this project continues to expand and break apart into multiple deliverables. But so it's a pretty significant effort to move this project from a 10% to 25% design. Next slide, please. So the point of the Class 3 estimate, I do want to touch on this for a minute. So Class 3 estimate, you'll recall estimates in general range from a Class 1 to a Class 5. Our 2020 cost assessment was a Class 5 with a very wide range of potential accuracy. The 2024 cost estimate update was a Class 4 estimate with a narrowing range of accuracy. So here with our plans for 2027, we intend to release a Class 3 cost estimate that further narrows the uncertainty and increases confidence on the costs and risks associated with the project. It will be used to support a reevaluation of the economic feasibility. So you'll recall that along with the updated cost estimate in 24, a benefit cost analysis was also prepared by contractors to the Department of Water Resources. That same analysis would be updated with new, more refined cost information. Another necessary and very important point here is the system-wide BODR and associated cost information provides an overall package to support potential revenue bond sales. That offering needs a coherent package that summarizes the entire project in a way that's consistent. It also establishes the cost baseline for the management during implementation of the project. So I mentioned previously with the BODR, we get the scope baseline and schedule baseline. With the addition of a cost, we now have all the necessary ingredients to manage, to establish a performance baseline going forward. Next slide, please. So on this slide, I'm showing what is referred to as a maturity checklist, and this comes from the AACE guidelines on cost estimating. The maturity checklist, the real takeaway here is if you look at the center of each of those little green tables, you can see the header at the top that's titled AACE Typical Class 3. And then next to it on the right, you see the defined DCP Class 3. And so this is where we intend to be upon completion of the BODR. As you look at each of these items, you can see that we intend to meet or be either slightly above or slightly below those guidelines issued by the AACE. The point here is that we need to be prepared to fully defend the Class 3 estimate. And based on our assessment and understanding of where we intend to be with the BODR, we feel very confident that we're going to meet the requirements and guidelines associated with the Class 3. Next slide, please. Our schedule for the BODR, we have made significant progress since the beginning of the fiscal year. So we have this BODR schedule of activities mapped out at the top of the slide. So to date, we've completed some early design development. We've taken all the environmental commitments that have been assembled to date through the various permits that have come in, included those in the BODR as well as the design features if they affect the layout and design of the project features. Establishing those design criteria building code analysis is almost complete. Refining and confirming the on-site water management and geotechnical data to support all of the design refinements. All of that work is currently underway. Additionally, the basis of design report itself and the associated drawings are in progress. We had our first check set internally looking at the status of all that information at the end of September, and we're making good progress. What you see in this long string of blue arrows across is really what we intend in terms of the development and review of the BODR will be a very intensely reviewed process. Again, we're taking the time now to prepare this information to support the Class 3 estimate so that it and the Class 3 estimate are fully defensible and can withstand scrutiny. We also intend to bring on through the gray independent tech review row a number of independent reviews starting in Q1 of this year. So starting around the January timeframe, we're going to be utilizing a number of our executive support services contracts. Remember, we have some very capable resources within that pool to help us evaluate our procurement plans, packaging, constructability, reviews, cost, schedule, risk. All of these are items that we intend to get a second and third set of eyes on to make sure that we're fully prepared to carry that information into the cost estimate. At the very bottom, you see a swim lane associated with the financial analysis. So again, starting in around January, we'll be pulling the cost schedules and templates together, really kicking off the construction cost estimate effort later in the spring of next year, and then transitioning that information into the updated economic analysis in the fall of next year. So that process is underway. It's an 18-month plus process to complete all this work and have it prepared for early 2027. But so far, I'd say we're very much on track. Next slide. I think I've just got two more. I mentioned the performance baseline concept. The point I want to make here is that although all of this work is necessary to prepare information to support your agency's decision-making in 27, it also sets us up for transitioning efficiently into the delivery phase by establishing the scope, schedule, cost baseline to manage ourselves as a benchmark. To date, we've really been working through a project that is being generally governed by the permit and regulatory processes, but this represents a moment in time when we'll be able to transition this project into a more traditional infrastructure advancement where we have established these elements and we can measure ourselves against them and daylight performance in a much more consistent way. The information developed you're familiar with, it's the activities, sequence, cost, durations, milestones, all this typical schedule information and cost information that we communicate. So next slide, please. In terms of next steps, we do have some budget scope work to do for those independent reviews that we're targeting starting up in Q1 of next year. We do also need to finalize our delivery plan, contract packaging, interfaces, and all that information that we need to build into and have as part of the schedule and basis of design report. Do intend to update the board at a minimum in later next year on the updated costs and schedule. And then ourselves ensuring that we are truly ready to transition efficiently into delivery. We need to continue to work on the systems and resources and that we need to execute according to that baseline. So that continues to be our priority. So that completes my presentation. President Millibar would welcome any questions.
Well, this is very thorough analysis of what's going on behind the scenes. And as we go forward, it'll be very interesting to be exposed to some of the detail, you know, that you're going to be sharing with us. Are there any questions of the board? Go ahead.
Thank you, President Millibar. Thank you, Graham, for your presentation. Just want to ask a question about the hold on the geotechnical work. Do we have enough new geotechnical work in hand now that would allow us to produce a Class 3 estimate with some level of confidence consistent with a Class 3 estimate?
We do, and I think, Claudia, if you don't mind, could you go back to the maturity checklist slide for me? So I guess the short answer, Director Martin, is yes, we do. The quality and level of data varies across the various project sites. I'd say the element, the portion of the project that we probably have the least amount of consistent information would be the tunnel alignment itself. I asked Claudia to come back here because if you look in the center, and Claudia, if you could move your mouse over it, there is a designation on the maturity checklist around soils and hydrology. The expectation would be that for a Class 3, we have what would be called defined conditions. We are acknowledging that some portions of our project are more defined than others. I would consider the tunnel alignment itself more in a preliminary state in terms of what we understand and know about subsurface conditions. However, we are able to consider the conditions we are aware of, look at it from a parametric perspective and evaluate what would be the impact if conditions vary in one direction or another, and ensure that the design itself is robust under varying conditions. That ultimately translates to likely additional costs in the cost estimate. So whereas in some areas we are refining the design as best we can to remove conservatisms, if we lack data in certain areas, we're less likely to pursue refinements on those designs. In addition, there are other portions of the project. So looking over at some of those engineering deliverables on the right-hand side, as you look down, there are other aspects of the project that for a Class 3 would be defined as preliminary or something that you're just getting started on. And so where we can advance other portions of the project, like the site discharge drawings or the civil site layouts of those civil site drawings, we are advancing those a little bit beyond what would be the minimum for Class 3 to ensure that in aggregate, what we have is a defensible Class 3 estimate.
Thank you, Graham.
Any other questions from the board? Go ahead, Robert.
Yeah, thanks, Graham. Very thorough report. I guess I just had a question, a comment, staying on this, particular page. And maybe I didn't, capture what you said correctly, but I thought what I heard you say was, the completion of this would provide us with a sound, rational basis for in advance, like bond ratings or sales or something. Is that for internal justification purposes, or is this actually for, the bonding agencies to, this is a requirement for the bonding agencies to give us ratings on the project? I guess maybe I wasn't really clear.
I think it's a little bit of both, Director Chang, and but I'll admit, I am not the finance professional here to talk in more detail, and I would be happy to bring others over time to come in and talk in more detail here. But I think the real takeaway from our perspective is that you do need a consistent and coherent package of this project, which is a very large and complicated project. If we've got elements of the project in different stages of development, it's hard to speak consistently about the status of it. This is a package that would support bond offerings in the sense that it's available to anyone who would consider buying revenue bonds associated with the project. It certainly will be judged based on the quality of this information as to whether it really is the project that it's being described as. And so having a system-wide design that's consistent, that matches, supports the cost estimate, the economic analysis, creates something that's much easier to understand for the financial world.
Okay, yeah, thank you for that clarification. And then like on page 7, which is next page, on your schedule, maybe I think my comment is that I remember we had a lengthy discussion and during our last board meeting where we approved the whole package of different contracts. So I think this schedule, I was going to commend you, actually kind of highlighted, the reason why we're doing what we had, performed those actions, which was, like you said, getting all the executive support services online so that we can actually perform the due diligence on the checks, the package, like you said, on the calculations and so on. So thank you for clarifying.
Yep, thank you.
Any other questions?
President Millibar, online here, if you don't mind, Director Anaptawi.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Great report, Graham. Curious if the intent here with the basis of design report is to carry it through a final design at the very end. Will this be kind of a document that gets revisited in each of the design kind of packages and then take us through to final design?
Yeah, our vision, Director Anaptawi, is that this basis of design report will be fundamental to the procurement for engineer record teams. But likely the first effort associated with, so imagine that this project now is we're looking at it from a system-wide perspective. There's a whole bunch of different project features in here that we're eventually going to need to break apart and procure separately for final design. So this would be a core reference document associated with those procurements, provides all the necessary design requirements and design standards, anything and everything that those designers need to understand the status of the project would be included. And then our expectation would likely be that their first step would then be to establish the interfaces of their project with the adjacent projects, make sure those interfaces are well understood, narrow down their focus to the extent of their particular project, develop a project-specific basis of design report, and then an associated 30% design. So this is a step that facilitates that transition from a system-wide approach to a project-specific engineer of record approach.
Thank you.
No other questions? Are there any public comments on this item?
No public comment requests received for this item.
Okay, we'll move on to item 7C, our first senior leadership spotlight with Clint Rehermann, Program Support Manager. Graham.
You pronounced his last name perfectly. I think that's better than I have, but we welcome Clint. Clint's been on board for 7 months now. And over the past year, we've been introducing the division managers for the program. The board will recall we have 6 divisions within our organization, 7 including the executive office. Program support is a very important division, contains all of our back office administrative work. Clint's going to go over that, but wanted to allow Clint to introduce himself to the board.
Thank you, Graham. Appreciate it. Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be in front of you all today. Really appreciate having a bit of your time to introduce myself. I'm a native Californian, originally from just 50 miles north of here, small town called Live Oak. My hometown friends and I used to joke, it's a true joke. It's a town with one stoplight. The only problem is they added a second stoplight here about 8 years ago. And in the last 2 years, they added a third. So by Live Oak standards, I think that's probably exponential growth, which is a little scary, but was a great place to grow up and a wonderful community to be a part of. It's an agricultural community primarily, and I hail from a farming family. Both sides of my family are rooted in agriculture. My mom was born into a farming family. She was a school teacher, taught in the same town of Live Oak that we all grew up and went through school through. My dad made his living in farming, and there's a picture of the two of us. I had the unique opportunity to spend the last couple years of operation working with him and kind of helping him wrap up the business. And it was the honor of a lifetime. I thought I understood how difficult and challenging farming was. And I had a pretty good idea, and I have a whole lot better idea after spending the last couple of years in the business with them. But it was really, really unique and interesting opportunity. My dad was a rice farmer. So the importance of water above and beyond meeting your daily living needs is something that I, grew up with. And it makes it all that much more exciting to be a part of this wonderful project. And just last thing about my dad, he instilled in me, I think, the love of problem solving and taking on challenges. And I can assure my DCA colleagues that if my dad were still here with us, most of you would have met him. He would probably be looking for every opportunity to come down, find an excuse to come to Sacramento to have lunch. You probably would have been invited to lunch, whether you wanted to be or not. He was a great guy. So I owe a lot to him. If that connection to farming weren't enough, I was blessed to marry into a farming family. My wife's family immigrated from India, and my wife's parents immigrated from India in the 1950s and did something incredibly impressive and started as production agriculture folks in their lifetimes. And so we all know how difficult it is to acquire any kind of property in California and the expense of that. So the fact that they did it as immigrants to the United States is impressive, and they're an impressive group of people, and I'm happy to be associated with them. And my wife, which I tried to put her in as many pictures as possible up there behind me because the pictures are a lot better when she's in them, is still involved in production agriculture, and they have an agricultural crop insurance business as well. So we still have roots to that area. She and I have lived in Sacramento proper now for 22 years. Very lucky to call Sacramento home. Love this community. It's a great place to be and live. Unlike some of my colleagues who've traveled and worked abroad because that was best for their professional lives, I've been lucky that I've traveled by choice for fun. So love to travel. Have had wonderful opportunities to go back to India with my wife and her family, travel to Europe. And so we prioritize that for fun as much as we can. A financial planner would probably tell you that I spend far too large of a percentage of my income on experiences. Attend a lot of 49er games and watch a lot of live music. And another great thing about our region, our area that we really enjoy. Cal Poly is a family tradition. I'm the third person in my family. I had an uncle and a brother who both went through the agricultural engineering department at Cal Poly. So I'm the third in my family to go through that department at Cal Poly. Have a niece and a nephew who are also Cal Poly grads. I couldn't quite talk them into doing engineering or agricultural engineering. I've got one more nephew in the pipeline who's a junior this year. And I'm to say that I'm twisting his arm to steer him both towards Cal Poly and ag engineering is an understatement at best. So my background prior to DCA, I've spent about 11 years of my career with Parsons, and I spent 10 years as a Parsons person embedded with the power generation line of business at PG&E. And in 2009, PG&E Hydro went through a major uptick. Uptick is actually an understatement. Probably about a 5-fold increase in their annual spend on their capital improvement program. and Parsons had the opportunity to come in and provide additional project management resources, construction management resources, resources in contracting and project controls. And it was really a wonderful, incredibly developmental opportunity for me personally to be embedded with that team of folks at PG&E for 10 years. Really, really enjoyed it. One of the notable projects, large projects that we had the chance to support during that time was the seismic retrofit of the Crane Valley Dam, which is the dam that makes Bass Lake possible. And that was like a $300 million project. Wonderful group, wonderful team, owner's agent type work, which is what I'm really passionate about and enjoy doing. Earlier in my career, spent time in very small civil engineering firms. So I've worked for big publicly traded companies, but I've also worked for small, one licensed professional in the office type firms. And a neat project that I was a part of in that time was the reconstruction of the Shanghai Bend levee, which is just south of Yuba City. And if any of you have ever heard the horrible stories of the flood of 1955, the levee at Shanghai Bend is the levee that failed during 1955 that caused the flood of Yuba City. And so I grew up with great grandparents and grandparents who talked about the 1955 flood. So to have the opportunity, I think it was we started in 1999, finished in 2000 to finish the reconstruction and realignment of that improved levee was a really neat thing to be a part of. And during that same time in the late 90s and 2000s, there seems like there's always levee work that we need in this area, but they reinforced all the levees around Yuba City and Marysville. Very, very exciting to be a part of that. And then prior to that, I did a lot of work on a regional, Northern California region-wide buildings program where we worked in every municipality you could think of from the Bay Area, projects where it was much more difficult to get projects permitted, all the way to some of the more rural communities where projects were a little bit easier to get processed, a little more straightforward. So a great opportunity to work around Northern California in urban and rural communities, working with the local jurisdictions in those environments. I am a licensed civil engineer, and since 2009, my focus has been more on project delivery, program management. So on DCA, the Program Support Division, as Graham touched on, a lot of the management plans, operating policies, and procedures are prepared within our part of the organization. The program controls the Trimble cost accounting system of record and the workflows that creates that allows DCA to conduct its business, manage vendor invoices, happens within our part of the organization. The office, the management of the facility, the IT infrastructure that supports these meetings, all of the onboarding of staff from the different DCA vendors all occurs in the program support side of the house. Some of the reporting and the project management information systems lives in our team. The contracting and procurement is provided by our part of the organization. Safety manager is a part of our team, and the sustainability group that gave the presentation updating on some of the metrics that they're evaluating for DCA's sustainability policy comes from our team as well. And quality, continuous improvement, document consistency review, ensuring the plans and procedures we create are uniform across all the divisions in DCA come from our side of the house as well. And that concludes my remarks. Thank you very much.
Well, we're very lucky to have you on our team. I'm hoping that you do enjoy it as you have your past experiences. And it looks like you have to be a civil engineer and an accountant all at one time. Some of the things that you mentioned. So thank you very much. And I'll open it up to the board if Director Martin would like to make a comment.
Yeah, thank you, President Millibar. Thank you, Clint, if I may call you Clint.
Of course.
Personally, I'm always happy to see a registered civil engineer join the team, but I do appreciate the range of experience you've had. from all the way from the one licensed outfit to something of the size of Parsons would do. And being out in the field and in the office and all your range of experience, I certainly welcome you to the team. I'm looking forward to hearing more from you and welcome.
Thank you very much.
Welcome on board. It's going to be quite an experience. Strikes me as being a project which will have some major contractors working concurrently, each with their own reporting systems. So trying to coordinate that will be an extraordinary challenge. Welcome.
Thank you.
Director James?
Mr. Rehermann, thank you for your background and, really like to hear the, the legacy that you're continuing. My dad was a civil engineer as well, so I think we share that in common and instill in love me for problem solving. So appreciate that. And I just want to, welcome you to the team and, commend Graham for, being able to kind of pick up, the high quality talent that is needed to support this effort. So looking forward to working with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm always intrigued by hearing what you do, but fascinated by why you do it. And that certainly came through today. So thank you, Clint, for sharing that as well.
Thank you.
Any questions online? Director,
Anabdawi, no, I don't see that he has his hand raised, and I can confirm that we don't have any public comment requests for this item.
Oh, okay, very good. Well, it's time to move on to item 7D, and I'm sad to introduce this, a resolution thanking Director Luna for his service at the DCA. We're going to miss him very much for his hard work on the DCA and his interest and depth of detail that he chases with the congressman and whatever, all the other stuff. It's going to be hard to not have you here.
President Millibar, if it's okay, I'd like to just read some of the staff memo, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
So this item is an opportunity to recognize and thank Director Luna for his service on the Board of Directors and role as the board's legislative liaison. Director Luna led several legislative education efforts, participated in various speaking engagements in support of the Delta Conveyance Project, and was a strong advocate for the importance of safe, clean, and affordable water. As a member of the Board of Directors, Director Luna has been instrumental in the continued growth and development of the DCA. Director Luna's focus on community and equal representation on fundamental issues such as right to water has helped the DCA maintain focus on key topics such as affordability and engagement with the community as we continue to position the Delta Conveyance Project for future implementation. The DCA is incredibly appreciative of Director Luna's numerous contributions to the organization. Staff thanks Mr. Luna for his efforts and wishes him well in his future endeavors.
Any other comments by the directors? Director Martin?
Mr. Chairman, if I may just also wanted to thank Director Luna for his participation. He's a good old friend of mine and a colleague on a well board, and also, of course, has worked with me on many issues with our as we do share sister agencies that have been working closely together, both on the Delta and in water in general, and of course, especially with respect to recycling and pure water. So I really always have enjoyed participating with you, and especially here with DCA. We'll definitely miss you. Chairman's right. Thank you for your service with us.
Okay, Dr. Martin.
Thank you, President Millibart. Director Luna, I've really enjoyed the couple of years you've been on the board, and especially on some of our travel back to the Burbank area, hear some of your personal story, and the willingness to take on the legislative liaison position, very impressive, and what you were able to do. So you will be missed. I'll miss you personally, but I wish you well and whatever you do in the future.
Director Weed?
Yes, well, It has been a pleasure working with you. We were attended some of the well meetings with you as well, water education for Latino leaders. And you've had an extraordinary responsibility as being the Met, which is the big guy in the room, or gal in the room. And thank you for your service. Thank
Director
Oh.
Chan.
Thank you. So I think, you know, what I'm going to say is may sound a little bit repetitive, so I'll try not to be that way. But again, I think, you know, Director Luna, you know, kind of talked about why you do certain things, and, you know, the background kind of shapes who you are. And I've enjoyed very much hearing, you know, about your background, sir, how you came to, you know, to this country, and how you end up in the water world. I've always respected your way to communicate. I think you've got a great way around you of distilling very, very complicated issues down to a layman's perspective. I admire your professionalism, but I think most of all, I'll miss your warm personality, and you're always the smile on your face. So best of luck in what you do.
Director Adnan Anabdawi.
Thank you, President Miller. You did a good job with the pronunciation that time, so thank you. Director Luna, I've, you know, in terms of the accolades you've gotten today, I totally second them. I also want to just mention you kind of have a no-nonsense attitude about yourself, and how you approach topics. You're direct. I love that. I think people have resonated with your style, and it's kind of what projects of this nature need, to sort of force the important conversations. And you have this kind of approachability to your style, and that'll be missed. It's not common, you see that. So I appreciated what you've done, and I hope this is not the last we see of you in terms of your engagement on projects like this. So I look forward to catching up with you later.
Okay, alternate director Sarah Palmer.
Hey, you got that right. Thanks. I just wanted to thank Director Luna. His energy levels and his dedication to this project and to water in general have been incredibly admirable. I also want to thank you for, even though it is not now kind of de rigueur, I'm really pleased that you have continued with your support of DEI, and I admire you for that. And I would like to echo Director Anabdawi's sentiment, and that I'm sure, and I hope this is not the last we hear and see of you. So continue on, and good luck in your next endeavors, and we will indeed miss you. Thank you.
Okay, we have a Treasurer Catano would like to make a comment.
Thank you, Chair Luna. I want to, on behalf of Metropolitan staff who are listening in today, and on behalf of myself, just having enjoyed working with you here on the DCA board, but also at Metropolitan. You lead with your heart, and you care about the community, you care about staff. And I want this board to know that he is specifically knowledgeable in a lot of things, because I'm always surprised when you quietly you don't always raise your hand, but when you do, you always have something important to say. And I always look forward to those days. So I will miss you. And I know a lot of us will miss you, but we know that all the contribution you made today will last. Thank you so much, and I appreciate you.
Do we have any public comments?
President Millibar, we don't have any public comment requests for this item.
Okay, well,
President,
President, I'd like
before you
to,
take a vote, because you never know if I may say something and the vote may not happen. May I make some remarks?
oh, of
No, and
course.
I'll be brief.
No, you speak as long as
Thank
you
you.
want.
I will not take too much time. I'll share a little of what I shared with Metropolitan yesterday, and that is that, you know, there's no perfect off-ramp, you know, for those of us who, you know, provide in service for these issues around water. So the timing is never ideal, but it's got to be ideal for the individual. So the timing is right for me. So I just wanted to share that with all of you. A little bit of also what I said was that, you know, coming into this, I really saw this as an opportunity, almost like getting a 4-year degree in metropolitan business. And now joining the DCA was like a double major, right? It was a major in MWD and DCA politics, policies, procedures. So I'm not going away. I'm gonna continue to do the work that I did before I got on these boards, and put in now into practice what I've learned during these last 4 years and last 2 years on the DCA. My dad used to share with me his stories growing up. Very early on, his dad left, and so, he was stuck with taking care of the family. And so what he would have to do was he'd go around the sawmills with other kids and collect the sawdust and put it in these brick molds, compacted, and that's what they would use as fire for food, for cooking, and for sanitation, for water sanitation. So when you take that just one generation, away, and you have his son being able to serve on boards that have an influence over almost 40 million people in the state around water, to me it means a lot. So I really brought myself into this. I took this very seriously. I think the other thing is that growing up poor, my dad, and then some of my early life, love and knowledge was the heirloom that we received, that I received. For me, having water be such a part of my life and understanding the need to make sure that we have the infrastructure that gets the water in the most reliable, the most affordable way to the people that most need it and most depend on it. Infrastructure of water is that heirloom that, for me, I took very responsibly participating in, to ensure that we invest in it, because the heirloom needs to be invested in, it needs to be protected. And we need to think about what heirlooms we pass forward to future generations that continue to provide that reliability, that affordability. And so DCP was, is, and will continue to be one of those heirlooms that I will continue to support and work on to make sure that it is something that future generations can depend on. Obviously, you'll have a great director stepping into my role. Director McMillan will be the chair and will be here as the next prime representative on the DCA. My time here, it wasn't all work. It was a lot of fun. Getting to hang out with all of you, learning from all of you. All of you were my teachers, and that I'm talking about the board, I'm talking about the staff, behind the scenes. There's so much work that goes into in between meetings. And I think, people need to understand that it's a lot of commitment to serve on these boards, and all of us, I know from, spending time with all of you, take it very seriously. So I thank you for teaching me and for allowing me to be part of that group. I got to learn a lot about the Department of the Interior from my friend Michael Galladan while I was here, and I continue to be in touch with that. And I will continue to be in touch with all of you. I think that water is the nexus. And if you believe that, then water is what will keep us in touch. So I appreciate all of you. I look forward to continuing to see you. And thank you for all the work that you all do that really meets the standards of integrity, transparency, and the collective towards protecting that infrastructure, water heirloom that we need to protect. So thank you for allowing me the time.
That was very nice synopsis of what you've been involved in here. And so I would like to move to adopt the resolution commending and thanking Miguel Luna for his service on the board. And we need a second.
I'll second that, Mr. President.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Can we hold the board?
Confirming that you, President Millibar, was the first
Yes,
motion. Okay.
I wanted my name on that resolution.
President Millibar,
Aye.
Director Martin,
Aye.
Director Luna,
I agree.
Director Estromera,
Aye.
Director Chang,
Aye.
Director Anaptawi,
Yes.
Director Weed.
Aye.
And I'd like to say that we will miss you, Director Luna. I watched your goodbye on Met. Very touching. So I would like to applaud you for all that you do and look forward to working with Jackie McMillan.
Okay, we'll move on to item 8, reports. Before we start reports, we will take all public comment on the staff reports and announcement now. If you would like to make a public comment, please let us know. Are there any public comments at this time?
President Millibar, there is no public comment request for any of the items in the staff reports.
Okay, item A, our first report is the General Counsel's report. Yeah.
Thanks, President Millibar. I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank Director Luna. I really appreciate working with you and for you over the last couple of years. So thank you for everything you did for the organization.
Are there any questions of Josh? No questions? The next is the Treasurer's report.
Thank you. So this item was very interesting if you were paying attention to the report that Graham gave. He was really speaking about some of these costs for July, August, September. So some of it that you'll see, this report captures a little more than his report has captured. So to that end, we had paid bills of $6,832,010, resulting in our cash balance in September of $564,823. So majority of those bills that you saw at points 2 probably were paid, and I'm pretty sure they might still be a little bit lagging, but we received a chunk of money to pay those bills towards the end of September. And to that end, we also did balance our books and have our net position for this quarter was $1,228,530. And the schedules for all that showing our activities for the 3 months period are all attached to the report. And I'm happy to take any questions that you might have.
Any questions of the treasurer? The report? I don't see any questions, so no questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Move on to item C on the communications report.
Great. Hello, President Millibar, members of the board. I'm excited to roll out today our first monthly communications dashboard. So you might recall I stepped into this role in July and we had our team get on board, and we've been doing a lot of work to get organized, to look at the DCA branding, to look at our digital presence, look at our social media properties. And what we've pulled together here and we'll be including on a monthly basis for members of the board is a snapshot. And Claudia, if you want to go to the next slide here, that really puts a high level summary together of what we've been focused on over the past month. So those would be those top activities that you see, as well as where our focus is going to be in the upcoming weeks and months. So some of those highlights. The analytics that you see here, and I have some follow-up slides to go into more detail, But this is really a baseline for us as we've been relaunching a new strategy online with the social. We're also, as Graham mentioned, doing some work on the website, starting with the document library so that we can make information more easily accessible to members of the public and those accessing information on our website. So we really want to start having that data, and you'll see as this evolves over time, we'll be able to show month-to-month performance and have more that we're able to really be able to look at and say what's working, what's not working, where do we need to adjust our strategy, again, especially as it relates to those digital platforms. I'll go into more detail on the follow-up slides, but we've been at quite a few events and have a lot more coming up this fall. So some really great outreach and touch points going on with members of the community, water agencies, as well as industry, conferences and engagement. And then each month too, we'll be able to provide a snapshot of which new materials we've put out, as well as what we've updated, because we are looking at, there's a lot of really fantastic content that the DCA has available, but how can we look at that and break it down into more digestible content, find different ways to share that, again, really trying to make it more accessible for our audiences. Go to the next slide, Claudia. Or the next one. So before I go into where we've been focused and what we have coming up, I just wanted to take a moment because Graham spent a little bit of time going through the roadmap for the DCA over the next couple of years. And we've been really looking at that, through the lens of communications in terms of our roadmap, if you will, or how do we support those efforts. So for us, it really is about this consistency and this clarity and being able to communicate progress, accountability, and these engineering refinements and innovations that are really helping to drive down cost, minimize risk, and keep the project on schedule. So we really see four main pillars to that. And the first one, again, is really about how do we pull forward those engineering refinements, how we're using technology, how we're using innovation to really keep that fiscal discipline and minimize that risk. The second one is really about that readiness. So how can we communicate all that we are doing to make this project implementation ready? How do we show the activities that are taking place here at the DCA and really consistently communicate around progress and around milestones? Third, alignment and coordination across partners. So with the department, with the state water contractors, with the PWAs, as Graham touched on in his report, and I know some of you have been engaged in these conversations, we've been doing a collective effort to meet with each of the PWAs so we can talk about communications and we can really get a better feel for where those needs are, where the gaps are, the different types of resources that are needed. How can we be doing a better job making sure we're getting the right messaging, the right materials out there and working collectively to consistently talk about this project, answer questions, correct misinformation together and collaboratively. And then lastly, again, really looking particularly at our digital properties, but across communications, how do we make information more accessible and more easy to share to across stakeholders and audiences? So a big focus for us in the first couple of months has been this brand refresh at the DCA. So making sure we have a consistent, a real kind of modern, professional look and feel across our communications, both external and internal. So you see it today with the PowerPoints we're all using, but we have new letterhead, we have new business cards, we're working on new report templates. For our booth materials and conference engagement, we're looking to roll out new materials there as well. New visuals, new maps. Again, how do we really show up consistently and make sure we're presenting that information in a way that's easily understandable by our audiences? DWR has also been very active when it comes to communications. You might recall that from the months of July and September, there were weekly e-blasts that were going out with information from the department. There were some new materials from DCA that were part of that campaign. One of the biggest pieces that came out recently is the Community Impact Guide. So this is a detailed guide that talks about what types of impacts can be expected at the local level and what is being done to minimize those impacts. There's also a new fact sheet focused on protecting farmland. So getting factual information out there about what type of impact the project will have on the Delta farmland and correcting some of the misinformation that has been out there on those topics. And then lastly, you can't see the whole video here, but there is a snapshot. There's a new video and animation that was put out from the department really about how the DCP works and focusing on the amount of water that could have been, captured and safely delivered in some of these past storms and water efforts had the DCP been in place. So if you haven't seen it, it's a really great resource and a new material that's out there, and we're looking forward to also continuing to share out. So on the event side, we have a lot that are coming up, and recently Graham was with the American Society of Civil Engineers, the Golden Gate branch in Walnut Creek, recently presenting on the DCP. Our DCA Deputy Director, Jim Morrison, will be at a conference in Colorado representing DCA, and then Graham again with an industry opportunity at the North American Tunneling Conference in Virginia in November. We also have several tours coming up. I went one in June and highly recommend that to anybody who is available and interested. They're a great way to get a better feel on the ground about the project and all of the opportunity here. So we have another one with staff coming out, as well as a few different ones with the PWAs coming up. So again, on the website side, this is really the baseline analytics. What we're focused on, one is improving that document library, but also right now we're seeing a lot of traffic coming from desktop users. So as we continue to increase and enhance our social media, seeing how that changes in terms of if we're getting more mobile interactions, and then what does that mean in terms of user experience and how we should be thinking about the website and additional updates we might want to make there. So this is the baseline, and we're looking forward to being able to track this over time and have some more meaningful month over month and be able to draw more conclusions for you out of the data. And similarly, on the social media side, we have a lot of work to do here to boost our followers, to make sure our content is reaching our key audiences. We are looking at launching a paid media trial program in November aimed at exactly that. So yeah, again, this is baseline. You will see here we are collecting 2 performance data so that we can get information on what types of posts are getting the most engagement. That helps us know what types of communications, what type of messaging is really resonating, so we can look at that in terms of our strategy and plans going forward. And with that, that concludes my report, and I would be happy to take questions.
Are there any questions from the board of Jessica on her report? Director King.
Yeah, thanks, President Melbar. Jessica, thank you again for, a very comprehensive report. And as kind of a data-driven person, I just have to ask a little bit about the, your website analytics, and you don't have to answer it today, but I guess sort of my questions are, you kind of provide different metrics and data. Trying to remember like what page. Let's see.
Next to last page.
Okay, next to last page, yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't have to answer it today, but I'm just trying to figure out what bounce rate is, what conversion rate is, and you speak a little bit different language than what I'm used to. So again, if we don't have time today, we don't have to get into it, but perhaps for a future discussion.
Yeah, and then I think the biggest takeaway is we have some work to do on the website, right? I mean, I think that's when we're looking at this, but some of this again is like as we're getting new fact sheets out there, as we're driving people to the website, how is that working? Are they going where we want them to go? Are they spending time there? Are there certain areas where they're spending more time? How much time are they spending? If they are, leaving rather quickly, does that mean we have too much information? They're not finding what they need. So really for us, I think the takeaway here is we have some work to do on the website, but there's going to be, a little bit of trial and error as we go through this, and how do we follow this data and use it to inform our strategy. And I think, yes, I think we'll probably in another couple of months here, we could have a much more meaningful update and spend some more time on this for you.
Okay, thank you. I look forward to when that.
Well, it looks like you're very thorough in going all the different directions that you are. So we appreciate your efforts, and your firm is doing, it looks like, a very good job. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
President Melbar, quick question. Oh, Miguel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
So remember me.
I'm still here. I'm just messing with you. What are the strategies on multiple languages as you roll this out?
Yeah, we do need to get on translations because we do have some new materials that we need to pick back up on translation. So that's something in the transition, but that's on our focus for the fall here.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, I don't see any comments online. So thank you very much for your report. We'll move on to Director Luna to provide us a legislative liaison report.
I didn't know I was on the hook, but yeah, well, I think the last year has been an effort to really get the message out. I think this is an opportunity again to turn back to thank the staff for their diligence in putting the materials together, setting up meetings, working with Jessica now, most recently in our push to move the trailer bill through the legislature. And while we were not successful there, the effort was not wasted. I think we had a great opportunity to communicate to new members who are coming in about the importance of this project, about the importance to engage. There were a lot of people that had questions. There were people that didn't even know what the issues were. Legislators that were still talking about designs from 3 projects ago. And so it was, I think, a worthwhile effort. Obviously, I think the continuance here that has been, is, and will be is DWR. And so, DCA taking on this role to move the project so that it could be passed on to DWR is something that, obviously it's a good marriage and continues to be and happens. I mean, there was so much work that took place in my capacity of meeting at times on a weekly basis with the DWR team to ensure that the messaging that was going out was in sync, because that mattered, so that everybody that was communicated in the most accurate, most factual information. That took a lot of effort. And to have the DWR team, have our communications team, have our general manager be involved in these, Claudia. So Graham and Claudia were always on these calls, and Graham was on many other calls, as was Carrie, to ensure that the message that went out was received and received accurately. Took a lot of effort. So I think that's the best way that I can encapsulate a year's worth of a lot of work, and certainly the work that continues to be needed moving forward. So thank you for the leadership in making sure people were informed. That's my report.
Thank you very much. Now we'll move on to the DWR Environmental Manager, Carrie Brockman.
Thank you, President Millibar.
Sorry.
It's okay. I'd like to start off, as so many others have, with a big thank you to Director Luna. I've really enjoyed working with you, both because of your enthusiasm and your water savvy. It's just been a real pleasure. You've made such a difference here, and we'll miss you. So just a couple of quick permitting updates. We continue with the water rights hearing at the State Board. We are working through the protestants' cases in chief as part of the hearing, and we have dates scheduled throughout the rest of the month to finish those. At that point, we will be moving towards a rebuttal phase where we both parties sort of try to rebut the statements made by the other party, and that will likely start in the hearing phase sometime in the new year. Things I'd say are moving forward. The group is out on a field visit today, including Adam Murdoch from the DCA, which we appreciate. So that's all moving along. The other big thing that is going on right now is that we are preparing to submit our certification of consistency with the Delta Plan. And We had planned to do that later this year, but we had moved it forward because of the preliminary injunction. So we wanted to try to get this submitted as soon as possible. So we posted it for public review on October 3rd. The DSC recommends a 10-day public review. So we did that. And then we are just working through comments, and then we're going to post that to the Delta Stewardship Council imminently. So that is also moving along. Once we post it, we'll give it to the DSC. They will notify people that it's there. There is a 30-day appeal period where parties can appeal that certification. And then after that, there will be 60 days for the DSC to hold a hearing. So it's also moving forward. So I think those are my updates. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Any questions of Carrie? Director Chang?
Not as much a question as it is just a big note of appreciation for what you and the department have done to get the application in a couple of months ahead of time, really, right? And I was really pleasantly surprised to hear that. And I know there's probably a lot of sleepless nights and so on, but undoubtedly, we're looking forward to the round of questions, but hopefully wind its way through a successful approval process. So thank you.
Thank you. I'll pass that on to the team.
Any other comments? Okay, I think that completes item 8 of the reports and announcements. Item 9, future agenda items. Maybe Graham, where are we headed in December?
President Milbar, I think one item in particular, we'll have an audit report come December. That's typical. So that's the Treasury audit. And so that expect that report coming in December. Claudia, I'm trying to recall what else, if anything, we have teed up for December. I know that's a specific one. Do you remember anything? Okay, we'll continue to develop the agenda, President Milbar, and that's something we'll be working on. So we'll be ready to communicate that shortly.
Very good. Thank you. And thanks for everybody attending the meeting. And we'll adjourn the meeting.